Welcome back. Now we will see how we will implement our Angular concepts into our Angular project. Last time we have created our Angular project, and after that I have created few components using ng, g, c, g for generate and c for component, and I named those component as header, footer, concepts, and add class. These are our main and along with this I have a home component also. This is all I have at the moment. These five components, we will use these five components. What I have done already I have done is I have installed Bootstrap using basically command npm install Bootstrap and npm install our basically jquery. Both applications have been installed. Then I have added a few code into styles.css. First of all, I have included the bootstrap css file, imported that into my styles.css. I can basically import into styles.css, as well as I can do it in other. I can directly put it here also, or I can import it in other way around also. You can surf the net, you can find multiple wayouts to import Bootstrap. I have included Bootstrap in my styles.css, the css file of Bootstrap into my styles.css, while the js files are in basically index.html. Here I have included the jquery and the Bootstrap both. So this is the way out. And the second thing which I have done is basically I have gone to app.component.js, and last time as I did was removed all the code and just added app header and app footer. In these two modules, in these two components, what I have already written, so that I don't need to write again and again the whole code of Bootstrap. I have created an app bar, and that nav bar is fixed at top, and in that I have created a container. In that container I have created three nav links: home, add class, and concepts. I didn't provided the href because href is not applicable in our Angular application. We will create the routing in it. So I created three nav links and didn't provided any basically link to it. We will create the link now after creating routing. And then what I did, I created a jumbotron, and in that jumbotron I just write the text. You can create the images or course carousel or etc into it. It's up to you. So I have created a header, and I have created a footer also. And in that footer I just created the same layout. I have created the footer. In that footer, that is semantic objects footer, and in that I have created a container, then a row, and in it I have showed a few links without href. You can see I have not provided the href. And then a basic information about this. Now the view of my application is just like this. Now this is my header part, and this is my footer part. As I have not provided any router outlet, so this area is empty. One more thing I have done, but I have not included that. I will include that. I will use those in my next exercise, and that is basically font awesomes. I have included font awesome. I have installed font awesome, and using npm command here, and then I have included that font awesome into my app module.ts, and then included that font awesome into imports also. So in this way I have imported font awesome. Now I can use font awesome anywhere I want to show some specific icon or font or etc. So I can use that also. So this is what I have done. Now we will first create a basic routing so that our components should start working. For creating the basic routing, as I told you, we need two steps. Those steps are actually defining our routes array, and secondly in along with defining route array, we have to define our router link. First we will go to app routing module. Here this is an empty array. In it basically every route is a JSON object. The JSON object, every JSON object contains two things. Is one is the path to that object, like I say empty path, and the second parameter is the component. And for that I will define, for example, home component. When I will start writing, so it has been included. It is showing me that home component has not been included here. For that what I need to do, import home component from uh, dot slash home slash home component. So I have included my home component into it. This is I have included one route into my application. Sometimes in some Visual Studio Code it automatically includes that thing. So please check, either it has been included or you have to write it. It's up to you. Secondly, I will define the second route. The path is let's say the concepts. We define the second object as concepts, and the component which I need to include for this is concept component. So I have included concept component in it, and for that I again have to import it from concept component from dot slash concept slash concept component. So I have to import this also. So I have imported two components and I have defined two routes for those component. The third component is add class. Let's do it. For add class I am defining another object. For that the path is equal to add class, and the component that will be loaded against that path will be add class component that will be loaded against that add class. And amazingly it has included add class into my this application. So I have defined three routes, and accordingly I have defined I have included three components into my application. Now the next step is to provide the router link. To provide the router link, what I need to do is to go header component.html, where I skipped writing my href. Against the href, what I need to write is router link. For example, I will go here, and in this anchor tag I will write router link, and against that router link what I need to write is the same code, same path which I have defined into my application there. Like I have defined it as a empty, so against that router link it will be empty. For the second, if I define the router link and add class, I have defined there add class. So this is the router link for that. And for the router link, for this I have defined concepts. So by doing this, I have defined my routers in header.html. Let's go to our application and see will it work or not. You can see after loading the component, it is showing me that home works. By default, in any case, it loads the home component. Home component is which is basically empty component. After that, if I click on the add class, you can see add class works. It means header and footer is there, and there is a component in between. Whatever we will present here in add class, it will be shown here into our this system. Same, if I go to concepts, you can see how concepts work. So we have defined our router links for header. Same, we will define the router link for our footer. We will go to footer class, and here what we will do, we will define router link here. Router link for home, it is empty. Router link for concept, it is concepts, and for add class, router link is add class. So hence we have created our routing system into application. Now you can see my component has been loaded again. You can see everyone is working. Add class, concept, and home. You can see every component is working. Same at the top, add class, concept, etc. So I have defined my basic application structure, in which this is my header, which contains an image. If I want to put some image, I can put some image, and this one contains as a footer. So let's start to work on other concepts. I hope you understand what the routing is. Routing needs to be defined into two parts. One is app routing module. Here we have a routes array. In it we define objects of two things, the path and the component related to that. And the second part of the task is to provide the router link to our application. Now you can see our application does not load a new page at all. If I click into any image, you can easily see the whole bunch of thing will not reload. Only this part, this component will be reloaded with the link, new link, you can see. So we have seen the concept of routing. For the next concept, like we in that concept what we have studied today, we can see the concept of module and component. Both are into your application. You can see we have created the components. We have seen the module also, in which we have imported our components. Like I have created all these components, and it has been imported into my declarations, and whatever the third party modules are there, I have included it into import sections. So these tools are there. So we have seen our module part, we have seen our component part, we have seen our basically decorators. You can see the ng module decorator here, which is this ng module is for the module class is totally empty. We are passing all the information as a basically decorator to this class. Same, if I go to any component, you can see it has the component, and second on init. Every subsequent component except for the app component. If you go to app component.ts, sorry, app component.ts, you will not see ng on init in it. It is basically the parent component, a parent component for every other component. So it works as a parent component. You don't have ng on init in it. You have ng on init any subsequent component. So while we are creating this component, by default Angular provides you ng on init function, and it has already declared ng on init as a void into your application. It has also defined the constructor into your application, and you can see it implements ng on init, and it is a footer component class, and it has also a decorator attached to it at the rate component with the selector property, with which we can call this component, and then this template URL. If we write the template instead of template URL, we have to provide the HTML, inline HTML here. We can provide the inline HTML into if we have limited information into our HTML component, then we can provide simply template and inline HTML here. Same with the CSS. So these are basically properties that has been attached to it. So this is our one component, and same you can see the same concept and same information in every component. It is a template which has been created for you. So we have seen basically module, component, templating, lifecycle hooks. You can see it has already implemented one lifecycle hook. If you want to include another lifecycle hook, you just create a function here, and that lifecycle hook will be available to you. Next thing in our concept is data binding. Let's see the data binding. First of all, we will go to home component just to show something. We declare a variable title here, which will be of string. Just remember the TypeScript concept and construct. Rush it here. We have declared a variable with the name title, which will be of type string, and it contains a string Rashid here. If I go to my home component, home component, it only displays home works here. Let's add h1 into it, and what I want to do, interpolation in it. This double curly braces, in it I will write the string title which I have defined. So that is all. The variable is already available in my HTML. If I go to my application view, and you can see that it has been written on my screen. So that variable which I declared in my TS file is already available in my HTML file. So I can write that into any an HTML file here. Same. What if we define a button value click here? Sorry, we have defined a button here, click here, and that that button is available now. Click here. Then now that button, if we want to apply some function on it, like whenever we click on this, it should generate some alert. For example, what we will do, we will define an function, basically a method binding into it, like click. It will execute on the basis of click function. Show. So against this, the show function will be called. If I will go here, and in show function, what I will need to alert hello. You can see when this is function binding, event binding. Whenever I click on this, it goes to the ts file and prints hello. So we have what we have achieved. We declared a button into my home component.html, and on click I have called an event, and that event is used into my class. That function is declared into my class, and we can access that information here. So this is basically function event binding, what we have studied here. You can see we have seen the event binding here. So we have done it. Now we will see a one-way data binding. For one-way data binding, we have to apply it to some property. We have to declare some property, and to apply that thing on some property. What if we have created a button, and let's leave it from here. We will start working on concepts. Emp, that will be an array with Rashid, Hamid, and Sajid. What I did, I declared an array. Uh, sorry. Emp as an array. If we don't mention, okay, we are not mentioning that it is an array. I think there is a problem with my syntax. So we are just declaring an array, and on ng on init we are declaring another um, uh, number of amp is actually a number, and number of amp is equal to this dot amp dot uh, length. For example, what we are trying to achieve, we are basically checking the ng on init function in it. Now if we prints here number of amp, let's see how it works. We will go to concepts. If we will go to the concept, sorry, the size is very small. Let's put it in some bigger thing, h2. So you can see then whenever this component will be loaded, with the loading of the component, we are actually receiving the length of emp. So this ng on it works whenever a component is being loaded. So whenever we will get some information from our services or some REST API, we will call that event or some function here in ng on init. We will receive the information while the component is being loaded. So this is what we can see here. For forms, for the two-way data binding, we need form objects. If we want to implement two-way data binding, let's see. We will go to app-module.ts. What I need to install is import form module, form module, forms module. Let me copy it from the slides because I don't remember the syntax exactly. So I have to import the form through from form module, Angular forms. Now second thing is to include it in imports, and we need forms, forms module. So by doing this, now I can provide two-way data binding, and now we will go back to our concept and we will create a form here just to check. Form input type. We are not providing bootstrap here. You can implement the bootstrap according to your need. I'm just creating a basic structure. You can apply the bootstrap classes and form controls into it. I'm just creating the basic. Type is equal to text, and name is equal to for example name, and what I need to put here is actually ng model, and ng model will be equal to some variable which I need to declare in my concept ts file. For example, ename, I am defining it ename. So this is an you can put uh, what we can say other information into it. Size, you can define the size, you can define the placeholder, uh, insert, enter your name, for example. So if we go to ts file, what we have to define a string type ename, ename that needs to be string type. And what one more thing, pr, next line, what I am doing here, span, I am displaying the same ename here, so that you come to know that what ename at the moment. So you can see enter ename, your name, while I type, sorry, I should, you can see this the variable down this r. Let me do some other thing because it is not viewable to you. I'm putting span ahead of this so that you can see. Let me refresh it. My system is a little slow and that's why it is taking time. If I write r, you can see with every input the value of the model is also updating, rashid. Now that value is already available in the model also, because I'm displaying the variable that has been declared in the ts file. In this ename which I have declared in my ts file is already available, sorry, already available to me in its HTML file. So I'm just writing this name is binding to with ename. So whatever I am writing in this text input, it is already attached to ename. So whenever I write something, it will add and remove accordingly. So this is called two-way data binding. Whatever we are writing here, that will be assigned to the variable that has been into our application. Same vice versa, if we assign some value here, for example, yeah, I will write your name or name. So I have defined an initial value. Let it recompile my application. It has recompiled my application. It is basically listening what I am doing. So the code is being listened. So whenever I save the changes, it update accordingly. Now you can see I have assigned a value which is alternatively assigned to this input box, but I can change it. You can see this value is being changed with every keystroke. So this is the concept of two-way data binding. The value is already available into my model. I don't have to pass from HTML to TS. TS contains that value, already contains that value. So that is what we have learned today. We have studied two-way data binding. We have studied event binding. We have seen interpolation. We have seen routing. We have seen Bootstrap adding into my application, and we have seen all other concepts which we have studied in our lecture. So uh, in next lecture we will study few more concepts and will apply those concepts. Till that till that time I will update the application according to the Bootstrap, so that the look and feel will be much better, and I will put it into my GitHub repository. You can find the code there after a day or so. Thank you very much.